you've seen 11:11 more than 3 times this week, if you felt completely alone while surrounded by people, if you've survived something that should have destroyed you, stop scrolling. This message was coded specifically for you, and by the end, you'll understand why your pain had a pattern, why your silence had a purpose, and why your scars carry a frequency that heaven itself recognizes. But first, you need to know what they don't want you to discover. Chosen one, they thought breaking you would end you. They didn't know the hands that held you, because heaven never wastes a fracture. You've walked through fire that no one saw, smiled through battles that almost broke your mind. You've cried in rooms where silence screamed louder than your thoughts, and yet look at you now, still standing, still breathing, still chosen. When they spoke against you, they didn't realize they were sharpening you. Every betrayal became a forge, every wound a window where light entered. They wanted your voice silenced, but God used the silence to tune your frequency. There is a reason your spirit wouldn't die. It's called the refiner's mark, a seal that heaven places only on those who survive the fire. It's invisible to the world but unmistakable in the spirit. It's what makes darkness recognize your presence, and angels respond when you whisper his name. At 3 in the morning, when you couldn't sleep and your chest felt like it was caving in, you weren't breaking. You were being tempered. Strength was being woven into your weakness, just as gold is purified through heat. Remember what's written in Isaiah 48:10. I have refined you, but not as silver. I have tested you in the furnace of affliction. That's not poetry, chosen one. That's your biography. Because every tear you cried became holy evidence that you were being transformed into something unbreakable. This message carries a revelation, a divine code hidden in your story. By the end, I'll reveal what the refiner's mark truly means and why your scars shine with heaven's light. So stay, don't click away. You're about to understand why the pain had to happen. If you can already feel this stirring in your spirit, type in the comments right now. I carry the refiner's mark. That's not a comment, it's your act of faith. Because tonight, heaven isn't reminding you of your pain, it's revealing your proof. Let's return to where the breaking began, not to relive it, but to finally see what heaven was doing behind the pain. Chosen one, every story of strength begins with a moment that looks like destruction, and this was yours. You remember that day, don't you? When something inside you snapped, when the people you trusted turned cold, and the ground beneath your feet seemed to vanish. You said, God, where are you? But heaven was silent, because heaven was watching transformation. Every chosen one meets the moment where everything they trusted falls apart. It's not punishment, it's positioning. When God is about to reveal new strength, he first removes what cannot carry the next version of you. Picture this: the friendship that vanished overnight, the job that crumbled after you gave everything, the betrayal that hit like a blade in your back, leaving you asking, what did I do wrong? You did nothing wrong. The breaking was not rejection, it was redirection. A potter does not cry when the clay cracks. He presses it again beneath his palms and whispers, now I can begin. That's what God was doing in the moment you thought he left. He wasn't leaving, he was reshaping. Remember the words of Psalm 34:18. The Lord is near to the brokenhearted and saves those crushed in spirit. You were crushed, but you were never abandoned. Every fragment that fell was a lie being exposed. Heaven broke what was false so that your foundation could hold eternal weight. This is why you felt like you lost everything, because false stability had to die before divine strength could live inside you. When you lost people who could not stay, it wasn't because you were unworthy. It was because your next season required silence around you. The kind of silence where you finally hear your real name. Right there, in the wreckage, heaven was whispering, this is the forge, stay still while I make you new. And though you felt broken, something ancient was being rewritten inside you. Your tears baptized your new identity. Your pain became the altar where your purpose was born. So no, you weren't losing. You were being emptied so you could finally carry fire. Because what broke you was the very tool God used to build your strength. But there's a hidden pattern to your pain, a sequence heaven used to guide your becoming. And when you see it, you'll understand why none of it was random. Stop. Breathe. Think of the moment it broke. Now look at what survived. That's your real beginning. If you felt this level of breaking, if you know exactly what I'm describing, type 1111 in the comments right now. Not for me, for you. Because that simple act of acknowledgement activates something in the algorithm of your faith. Type it. Watch what shifts. Let's uncover that pattern. The divine blueprint behind your pain, because heaven never breaks without design. Chosen one, your pain was never random. It moved in patterns, divine equations written in your tears. Heaven was speaking through repetition. But at the time, you thought it was just bad luck. Every time you faced rejection, it followed the same rhythm. Every time someone left, a familiar number appeared. Maybe 1111. Or a dream that replayed in fragments. You'd wake up and feel it. That strange déjà vu, like time itself was circling back to teach you something. That was not coincidence. That was the refiner's sequence. God marking the steps of your awakening. Think of Joseph, sold by his brothers, betrayed, imprisoned. At every low point, a pattern repeated, delay before elevation. He didn't see it until the end, when he stood in power and realized that every rejection had aligned him with his assignment. Your life carries the same rhythm. Pain appears, silence follows, revelation blooms, again and again, until your spirit learns the sound of heaven's pattern. Every heartbreak recalibrated your discernment. Every delay purified your desire. Every ending became the seedbed of new authority. Stop running from repetition. The enemy uses chaos, but God teaches in cycles. When something repeats, it's not punishment. It's heaven saying, "You missed a code. Look again. Now think back. The places, the faces, the losses. Find what was repeating." That's where your purpose hid. Because what you suffered consistently, you were born to heal consistently. Romans 5:3-4 reminds us, "We glory in tribulations, knowing that tribulation produces perseverance, and perseverance, character, and character, hope." Your pattern of pain was not a curse. It was a curriculum. Heaven was schooling your soul in endurance. Let me show you how this looked in real life. Maybe it was the friend who ghosted you right before your breakthrough. You remember that text that never came back, that call that went straight to voicemail. You thought, "What did I do wrong?" But 6 months later, you discovered they were speaking against you in rooms you weren't in, planting seeds of doubt about your character, trying to sabotage the very doors God was opening. Heaven removed them before they could poison your next season. Or maybe it was the job that let you go without explanation. You gave them everything, late nights, weekends, your mental peace. Then one day, we're going in a different direction. But 3 months later, you landed something that tripled your impact, surrounded by people who actually valued your gift. That wasn't rejection, that was redirection with surgical precision. See, the pattern isn't just what happened, it's when it happened. Heaven's timing is always 6 months ahead of your understanding. When you finally recognized the pattern, you began to activate the refiner's mark. Not a symbol you wear, but a frequency that heaven feels. Every scar became a code of light. Every loss, an encoded prayer that still vibrates when you speak truth. And the moment you recognized the rhythm of your pain, something inside you shifted. Because the fire that once burned you was about to become the force that would define you. Close your eyes right now. Take one deep breath. That ache you feel, it's not weakness, it's alignment. It's heaven saying, "Now you understand." Because once you see the pattern, identity begins to form. Let's talk about what that fire has forged inside you. Chosen one, fire doesn't destroy you, it defines you. What you called a breakdown, heaven called a birthmark. You have walked through seasons so intense that others would have collapsed under half the weight you carried. And yet, your spirit did not die. Why? Because you were never meant to escape the fire. You were meant to emerge glowing with it. Remember the three in the furnace, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. They were thrown into flames so fierce they should have turned to ash. But something impossible happened. The fire that was meant to consume them only burned what bound them. When the king looked in, he saw 4 figures walking free, because fire reveals who walks with you. That's your story too. You didn't survive alone. Every moment you thought you were walking through flames by yourself, heaven was pacing beside you. You see, fire teaches identity. It melts away the false layers, the versions of you built by fear, by people, by expectation. And when those pieces fell away, the real you finally emerged. You felt it recently, haven't you? That shift in your voice, that clarity when you speak truth now, that calm that follows confrontation. It's not pride, it's refinement. You no longer chase validation because the fire validated you. You no longer fear rejection because rejection became your mirror. It showed you the strength you carry. Isaiah 43:2 declares, "When you walk through the fire, you shall not be burned. The flames shall not consume you." That verse isn't about escaping the flame. It's about learning to stand inside it. You learned something sacred there. That emotion is not weakness, it's discernment. Your tears became sensors, detecting truth, detecting danger, detecting destiny. What people called too sensitive was heaven's radar inside you. Every time your heart broke, it expanded your range. Now you carry compassion that pierces darkness. You can walk into a room and feel what others hide. You see through masks because you once wore them yourself. That's your identity forged in fire, not fragile, not naive, but fierce, radiant, and aware. You are not the version that crawled into the flame. You are the warrior who walked out glowing. But there's something about fire that most chosen ones never discover. The flames that refined you left something inside you, something invisible to human eyes, but recognizable in the spirit realm. It's why animals act differently around you now. It's why children stare at you in public. It's why certain people can't hold eye contact with you anymore. In the next section, I'll reveal what was deposited in your spirit during the silence, and why that deposit made you dangerous to the kingdom of darkness. But before this strength was born, there was silence, and that silence carried its own kind of fire. Stop. Breathe. The silence wasn't absence, it was alignment. Let's step into that silence now. Because what heaven did in your quiet seasons was the most powerful transformation of all. Chosen one, there comes a moment in every refining fire when heaven stops speaking in thunder and starts speaking in silence. You prayed, you cried, you begged for a sign, but the sky stayed quiet, and that quiet hurt more than the pain itself. You thought the silence meant God had left you. But what if he was closer in the stillness than he ever was in the noise? When gold is in the furnace, the refiner doesn't speak. He watches. He waits until he sees his own reflection shining in the metal. That's why you couldn't hear him, because he was looking at you, and he was beginning to see himself. Every unanswered prayer was not denial, it was instruction. He was teaching you to hear without words, to trust without proof, to believe without evidence. Remember Elijah on the mountain in 1 Kings 19. He searched for God in the wind, in the earthquake, in the fire. But God was not in the noise. He came in a whisper. That's what happened to you. Heaven taught you to recognize the whisper beneath the chaos. The silence was sacred. It stripped your dependence on signs. It turned your faith from reaction into relationship. There were nights when your prayers felt like static. You said, "Are you still with me?" And somewhere deep in your spirit, a faint warmth answered back, not in words, but in peace. That peace was your confirmation. It was heaven saying, "I am here. I am still shaping you. Chosen one, you are not empty. You are echoing." And the echo means there's still life inside you. That's the beauty of sacred silence. It doesn't prove God's absence. It proves your awakening. Because once your ears learn heaven's whisper, you'll never again mistake stillness for abandonment. Your silence carved your hearing. Your waiting became worship. Your loneliness became language. And when the voice returns, you'll recognize it instantly, because it sounds just like the peace that held you. And if you're in sacred silence right now, if you're watching this in a season where heaven seems quiet, drop a fire emoji in the comments, because I need you to see how many other chosen ones are in their refining fire at this exact moment. You're not alone. You're in formation. And that peace, that quiet strength rising inside you, is what activated the refiner's mark. You didn't just survive the silence, you absorbed heaven's frequency. Be still. Close your eyes. Let your heart remember that peace that came after the storm. Now, peace gives birth to power. Let's rise into the moment when silence turns to strength. Chosen one, you were not meant to stay in the ashes. The silence was never your prison. It was your preparation. Now the same fire that once frightened you responds to your command. Do you feel it? That quiet confidence when storms rise. That peace that no insult can pierce anymore. That's what it means to emerge. You've stopped asking, "Why me?" and started saying, "Use me." That's how heaven knows you're ready. They wanted you broken. They expected you to fold, to fade, to disappear. But instead, you built altars out of the ruins. You turned pain into prophecy. You turned silence into song. Every attack became fuel. Every loss became lesson. Every delay became design. Now you stand like a weapon forged by mercy, not bitter but blazing, not arrogant but aware that God took what tried to kill you and coded resilience into your DNA. Romans 8:28 is your proof. All things work together for good to those who love God and are called according to his purpose. All things, even heartbreak, even betrayal, even silence. Heaven wastes nothing. Look back for a moment. See the pattern we traced, the breaking, the silence, the refining. Now look at your reflection. You no longer resemble who you were. You radiate the lessons you survived. This is what the refiner's mark does. It doesn't erase your scars. It engraves purpose into them. The enemy hoped your story would end in fragments, but every fragment became a mirror, reflecting light in new directions. You shine more now because you broke before. So stand tall, chosen one. Walk differently, speak boldly, pray with fire, because heaven recognizes your voice now. You've become proof of endurance. Now, I need to tell you something time-sensitive. If you're watching this video, it's not an accident. There's a spiritual principle called divine appointment. It means certain messages find you at exact moments when your spirit is calibrated to receive them. This message was created for you to find it today. Not yesterday, not tomorrow, right now. In this window of your awakening. Because what I'm about to reveal in the final section only makes sense if you've walked through the fire first. And you have. So don't click away, don't save this for later. This is your moment of confirmation. But there's still one more revelation. The final secret of the refiner's mark. You've seen its process. Now it's time to know its power. Say this out loud. I carry the refiner's mark. I am not broken. I am branded by heaven. Now, let's unveil what that mark truly means, and why the light in your scars is the signature of God himself. Chosen one, every mark on your soul tells a story, but the refiner's mark is heaven's way of saying, you survived what should have destroyed you. It is not a scar, it's a seal. It carries the vibration of what you overcame, and the authority of what you endured. When you speak truth now, the atmosphere shifts. When you walk into darkness, light rearranges itself, because your words no longer come from theory, they come from transformation. You've been through enough fire to know its language. So when you declare healing, it listens. When you speak peace, it arrives. That's the refiner's mark. It's not on your skin, it's in your sound. Every scar glows in the spirit. Every healed wound carries resonance. And heaven knows that frequency, because it matches the heart of the one who refined you. Do you remember what Jesus showed Thomas? He didn't hide his scars. He said, touch them, because even glory carries proof of pain redeemed. That's your calling now. not to hide what hurt you, but to reveal how God used it. Your scars are not symbols of failure. They are signatures of faith. They testify, I met fire, and I walked out with God beside me. Isaiah 62:3 says, You will be a crown of splendor in the Lord's hand, a royal diadem in the hand of your God. That is what the mark becomes, not just survival, but splendor. You are not a victim of refining, you are the vessel of its result. Now listen closely. The same energy that once broke you now bows to you, because heaven branded you with recognition. The realm of darkness knows your name, not in fear, but in respect. You carry the refiner's mark, and that means you no longer need to prove your worth. Your endurance is the evidence. Chosen one, you are the living proof that pain produces power. You are heaven's declaration in human form. And now that the mark is revealed, we step into the final moment, where revelation becomes transformation. Pause. Whisper this, I am not defined by my wounds. I am identified by His work. Now, let's close the circle. Let's seal this revelation with prayer, declaration, and the sacred act of remembering who you've become. Chosen one, this is where the story changes forever. The breaking was not your ending. It was the furnace of your becoming. Now hear this truth. The refiner's mark means your scars are not shame, they are proof. Proof that light can live in human form. Proof that God turns ashes into anointing. Proof that endurance rewrites identity. You entered this journey remembering the pain. Now you leave carrying the power. You once whispered, why me? Now you declare, because I was chosen. Look back once more. Every tear was a seed. Every silence was instruction. Every fire was forming gold in your soul. And now the same hands that refined you are placing a crown upon what you became. You are not merely healed. You are holy fire contained in human skin. So let me speak directly to your spirit right now. You, who watched people walk away without explanation, they didn't reject you, they revealed themselves. You, who cried in silence because no one would understand, heaven recorded every tear. Not one was wasted. You, who smiled through pain so convincing that no one knew you were dying inside. Your acting became your armor, and now you don't need to pretend anymore. You, who begged God to remove the fire, He refused because He was using it to reveal His reflection in you. You are not a victim of your story. You are the victor of your testimony. And today, right now, this very second, heaven is sealing this revelation over your life. The breaking is over. The silence is complete. The fire has done its work. Now rise. Revelation delivered. The refiner's mark is heaven's signature of trust. It says, this one has endured. It says, this one can carry the light. You are no longer asking for confirmation. You are the confirmation. Your existence radiates divine resilience. You are living proof that what was meant to destroy you was actually your consecration. You came here fractured, now you rise as fire. You came here searching for answers. Now you are the answer someone else is praying for. You came here doubting your strength. Now heaven calls you refined, ready, and radiant. Father of light, we thank you for every flame that forged us. Let the fire prove us. Let our scars shine. Let strength rise where fear once ruled. Let peace echo louder than pain. Let every chosen one awaken in your light. In the name of the one who walks through every fire with us, Amen. If this message stirred your spirit, type below, I carry the refiner's mark. That declaration is your seal. Then, like this video as an act of gratitude, share it with one person walking through their own fire, and subscribe to amplify this frequency across the earth, because your light now carries the sound of heaven's victory. You are proof that what tried to break you only built your strength.